these large-scale extractive projects involve land grabbing, often at a very large scale. So people's lands are taken often with no or minimal compensation, and the compensation is often cash compensation. So people lose the very assets and resources that they need to survive. There's water grabbing, so large volumes of water are used in a lot of these industries, the mining industries and power stations, big dams, damming, rivers and water bodies. So people's water that they rely on both for reproduction in their families but also for production are taken from them. They're also polluting industries, so there's large-scale pollution of air, water, soils. People's forests are taken, cut down and taken. So people lose the very basis for survival, the resources that they rely day on day to regenerate their families and their communities. So people are actually left totally immiserated by these industries and sick. There's also extreme violence that accompanies these industries. So you either have increased interpersonal violence between people and within families as people lose the resources and the social networks that they need to survive, but also you find there's militarization and securitization of territories, extractors' territories. So you have either private security of the corporations or the police and military get deployed to essentially patrol, to quell resistance, to keep people quiet in the face of these industries that are taking away the very basis for survival. So because of the division of labor in communities, so the way in which labor is divided, women are in Africa the majority of the food producers, so they produce the food and they put the food on the table, so they're involved in processing and preparation of food. Women are always also the ones that have to resource water and energy, so they're the ones that are harvesting the energy from the forest, they're the ones that are collecting water. Women are usually therefore responsible for what we call managing or caretaking water bodies and forests, because they're the ones that have to deliver the energy and the water to their families. Women are also the primary caregivers, so when children are falling ill with respiratory health problems or workers fall sick, it's the women that are having to take care of sick workers and sick family members. So it's because of all of this that we say the externalized costs of these industries and this extractives development model are primarily borne by women. And we actually talk about the subsidization of profits to the corporates by women, women's unpaid or cheap labor. So it has very direct effects on women and women's bodies. When we talk about externalized violence, the costs of this development model, women are affected in very particular ways by the violence. So we've been documenting and working to support women's organizing in cases where there's been rape, gang rape, and sexual harassment of women by private security or the military. So there's high risks for communities that are resisting extractive industries, but there's very particular double risk for women. And when women have been raped or gang raped or sexually harassed, often they can't speak out within their own families and communities because of what we call secondary victimization. They're blamed for what's happened to them. We believe that when communities are defending and women are defending their land and their resources and their forests, they're actually defending the alternative, a part of the alternative. They're defending a way of life on the land, they're defending the ways that they produce food, they are defending their relationship to nature, they're defending their relationship to each other. So we believe in the defense of land and natural resources against these large-scale projects lies the alternative. In fact, we're seeing the emergence of a new movement of women who are in grassroots communities that are defending their land and their natural resources, and they have quite a radical perspective because they are the ones at the front line of defending their lives, the resources they rely on for sort of survival, but also the planet. So we believe that there's very radical positioning that comes out of these new formations that are emerging, and I think probably present quite a challenge to the traditional mainstream women's movement. So I think we're quite excited by the possibilities with these new movements that are emerging. I think because we work with people in the African region that are affected by a model of development that is capitalist and patriarchal in nature, we see the problems lying in this economic and social system. And so I think the hope for people and for ecosystems and the planet lies in a total transformation of economies and of social systems. And that has to be done collectively. It can't be done by individual organizations and movements. It can't also be done just continentally, because these systems, they span continents. Globalization, capitalism is a global system, and so we have to challenge it where we struggle locally at the national level, but it's also a global terrain of struggle. So we have to unify our movements. I think as WoMin we're very clear that we have to converge our women's movements, our environmental justice movement, our climate justice movements, our peasant movements. We have to converge all of these movements in common struggle, because at this time our planet is so severely stretched and threatened that if we don't converge now, the future already looks bleak, but I think we can probably mitigate some of the worst fallout of climate, but it's going to require massive combined effort to counter the system, to propose the alternatives and to build the alternatives in practice, and to, I think, actually offer the hope for a different world, but that has to be done collectively.